afternoon. Welcome to Sked Live. My name is Kaylin Lopes, and here's what's making news now. A fire at an Etobicoke building has left one dead. The fire broke out early morning in a unit on the first floor of a high-rise near Scarlett Road and Eglinton Avenue. Authorities have not yet released the name or age of the victim. Toronto Fire Captain David Eckerman said the fire is not believed to be suspicious, but the office of the fire marshal has been called in to investigate. A man was stabbed to death inside a 7-Eleven in East York this morning. The stabbing occurred in the area of Donlands Avenue and O'Connor Drive. He was rushed to a trauma center but was later pronounced dead. Police will be reviewing video surveillance footage from inside the store. No other information has been released about possible suspects. In other local news, the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party has removed Kitchener-Conestoga MPP Michael Harris from caucus over allegations of sexually inappropriate texts with a former intern in 2013. Harris posted on his Twitter issuing a written statement on Monday evening apologizing for his misconduct. His wife, Sarah Harris, announced her plans over the weekend to run for the Kitchener-Conestoga nomination. PC leader Doug Ford declined to comment on any allegations. Tim Hortons has apologized after a Halifax franchisee reportedly sold donuts in the Humboldt Broncos colors without intending to donate the proceeds to the team. This comes days after the Humboldt team was involved in a collision, leaving 15 people dead. Chris Wakefield, regional marketing lead for Tim Hortons Canada, said in an email statement today, quote, "Of course, this restaurant will be donating 100% of proceeds from this donut to the Humboldt Broncos Hockey Club, and we apologize for the misunderstanding. For all the updates on the Humboldt Bronco tragedy, check out our website skedline.com for Elena DeLuigi's full summary." Now for Daniel and Rob with sports news.
Thanks, Kaylin. Yesterday we mentioned the Blue Jays' potent offense when or if Donaldson and Smoke don't contribute. But the Blue Jays had the pleasure of witnessing a grand slam from Donaldson in the 9th inning, leading to a 7-1 blowout win over Baltimore last night. Things began in the top of the 3rd when former Oriole Steve Pearce hit his 3rd home run in his 3rd consecutive game.
Pearce has been swinging a hot bat as of late, batting over 400 in his last 3 games. Josh Donaldson also stepped up to the plate with the score at 3-1 in the 9th inning and crushed the ball out of the park. Donaldson also stepped in at first base last night after Kendrys Morales left injured, making Jays fans wonder, is there anything Donaldson can't do? The story here is that the Blue Jays' victory came in front of a mediocre crowd in Baltimore.
Only 7,915 fans showed up for the chilly game last night, setting a new record low attendance at Camden Yards. The Jays and the Orioles play again tonight. Aaron Sanchez is on the mound against Andrew Kashner. With the Blue Jays winning, Toronto sports fans will be happy to know the Raptors beat the Pistons last night 108-98 for their 59th win of the year. Jonas Valanciunas led the charge with a game-high 25 points. DeMar DeRozan had 16 points, and Jakob Poeltl had 12.
Dwayne Casey said after the game, the performance in the second half is who we are. We didn't set the tone in the first half, especially the second unit. We've got to hit on all cylinders to be successful, and I thought we did it in the second half.
And with the playoff picture looking like right now, as if Toronto would play Washington, but with Milwaukee moving into 6th place in the standings, if the Raptors beat the Heat tomorrow night, they could play Miami first round. The Raptors look to earn their 60th regular season win for the first time in franchise history.
The Raptors are up to the challenge to get that 60th win, much like Toronto FC are up for a heavy challenge in Mexico City tonight, leading 3-1 on aggregate against Club America in the CONCACAF Champions League second leg. Playing in the largest stadium in Mexico, the Estadio Azteca can be in a hostile environment, holding up to 87,000 people.
And even despite that, Captain Michael Bradley said, "We're coming here to play and be aggressive. We want to score and go after the game and finish things off." Toronto FC and Club America have been fined an undisclosed amount for the altercation between the two sides in the tunnel at BMO Field in the first leg. According to the MLS, both sides violated Article 52 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code of Team Conduct.
I guess you could say tension is at an all-time high for tonight's game. Since the inaugural season of the CONCACAF Champions League in 2008, TFC are looking to become the third MLS side to reach the finals, since Real Salt Lake did in 2011 and Montreal Impact in 2015. TFC is also looking to become the first side to win it. And now over to Europe for the UEFA Champions League. The second leg of the quarterfinals kick off today with Roma against Barcelona in the Italian capital, and Manchester City are hosting Liverpool. Barcelona head into the match with a 4-1 aggregate advantage, looking to close out the tie. Liverpool look to hold on to their 3-0 advantage from their exceptional performance in Anfield in the first leg.
And then for tomorrow, the other matchups continue. German champions Bayern Munich have a 2-1 aggregate lead against Sevilla. Real Madrid return to the Santiago Bernabeu to seal the deal against Juventus, up 3-0 on aggregate. Former Italian World Cup winner and Juventus icon Alessandro Del Piero says that both Italian sides, Juventus and Roma, can still go through against their Spanish counterparts. He said anything can happen, even against great teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona. It will be difficult, but as an Italian and a Juventino, I hope they can go through. All kickoffs begin at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time.
Over to the NFL. Yesterday in Los Angeles, Green Bay Packers wide receiver Trevor Davis was arrested for making a false bomb joke. The 24-year-old wideout was checked in at the Hawaiian Airlines counter. When asked about his luggage, he reportedly turned to his female companion and said, "Did you remember to pack the explosives?" Davis was then taken into custody. The Green Bay Packers are aware of the situation, but they have chosen not to comment further on the matter until the investigation is fully complete.
And Davis recorded 5 receptions for 70 yards for the Pack last season. That's all for sports so far. Now over to Jen for weather in Toronto today.
Thanks, Rob and Daniel. Outside, there are only a few clouds and it's sitting at 2 degrees but feeling like -1. It is expected to stay clear for the rest of the day and evening, dropping to -1, but the wind chill will cool it down to -6. For the rest of the week, expect some rain and even some flurries. Tomorrow, there is a 40% chance of showers with a high of 7 and a low of -1. Thursday, temperatures will rise to 14 with light showers during the day. It will stay above freezing temperatures overnight, sitting at 11. Friday, the temperature is expected to drop down to 5 degrees with spring showers, and it will drop to 3 degrees overnight. Keep your winter jackets within arm's reach because Saturday, temperatures are expected to cool down to 3 degrees with an 80% chance of mixed precipitation. Overnight, it will drop back down below freezing at -2. We're heading back to winter weather on Sunday with a high of 2, but wind chill effects making it feel like -5. There's an 80% chance of ice pellets, and overnight, the temperatures will hold steady at 2 degrees. Now over to Connor to see what's trending on social media.
Thanks, Jen. I'm back for the final time with your trending needs. We start with a personal favourite of mine. The first WWE event post-WrestleMania took place last night. Monday Night Raw was the flagship weekly show for the WWE, and many debuts and returns took place. The charismatic Enigma Jeff Hardy and the Samoan submission specialist Samoa Joe returned from long-term injuries, alongside Bobby Lashley, who rejoins WWE for the first time in over 10 years. Alongside the returns, there were promotions for Ember Moon, No Way Jose, and the Authors of Pain from developmental brand NXT, with all picking up victories in their opening matches. But in slightly sadder news, we saw former Divas champion Paige have to retire from in-ring competition due to a long-standing neck injury. The English-born wrestler had been with WWE over 4 years, and fellow wrestlers paid tribute with the hashtag #ThankYouPaige trending in the United States. Following on from yesterday's entertainment news, an acclaimed horror, The Quiet Place, is stressing out snack-loving moviegoers. The film, which relies on minimal spoken dialogue, is making viewers hyper-aware of the noises that they make whilst in a packed cinema. One Twitter user compared trying to eat popcorn to defusing a bomb, whilst another refused to eat their candy because they thought everyone would hate them. Moving over to the Commonwealth Games, and imagine travelling halfway around the world with a chance to represent your country, only for an administration error to cost you that opportunity. Well, that's what's happened to English cyclist Melissa Lowther. Lowther arrived at the time trial event on the Gold Coast, only for her name to not be on the list of competitors. Team England chef de mission Sarah Winkless has offered Lowther her sincerest apologies and has assured the athlete that the investigation will take place. But it isn't all doom and gloom for Lowther, however, who will be able to take place in the women's road race on April 14th. So whilst an error caused grief there, another error is being credited with helping end World War II. Twitter user Florence Schnester shared the story of Jeffrey Tandy, a cryptogamist, or someone who studies algae and likes water. The UK's Ministry of Defence, however, mistook Tandy for a cryptogrammist, someone who is an expert studying codes. This led Tandy to Bletchley Park, where Alan Turing, or as you may know him, Benedict Cumberbatch's character in The Imitation Game, was trying to break the German Enigma code. But because Bletchley was top secret at the time, Tandy couldn't leave. 2 years passed with no luck, but that is until the Allies torpedoed a German U-boat containing a bigram table, something that shows people how to unscramble the code. But there was one issue: the papers were soggy. Up stepped Tandy, who reminded people what he does. He dried the papers and helps Turing break the code. So the moral of that story is, not all errors are that bad. Now over to Alessandra with your entertainment news.
Thanks, Connor. Bill Cosby heads to his retrial today in Pennsylvania. His lawyer, Tom Mesereau, plans to use the opening statement to portray a $3.4 million settlement that was paid to the woman he's charged with sexually assaulting as evidence against her for greed. Mesereau also intends to use the settlement to argue that Andrea Constant falsely accused the actor in hopes of landing a big payoff. Mesereau was also the lawyer who won Michael Jackson's 2005 child molestation case. Cosby is currently charged with drugging and molesting Constant in 2004. While Cosby is on trial inside the courtroom, protesters are outside. Nicole Rochelle, who appeared on several episodes of The Cosby Show as a child, jumped the barricade while Cosby was entering the courtroom yesterday. Rochelle was topless and painted in the names of the 50 women who accused Cosby, as well as the words "Women's Lives Matter." Rochelle was charged with disorderly conduct and was released later during the day. The Simpsons addressed the criticism that their character Apu was getting from portraying negative stereotypes of South Asians. The episode, titled "No Good Read Goes Unpublished," Marge and Lisa indirectly discussed the portrayal of Apu, the Quickie Mart owner. In the scene in question, Marge and Lisa are reading a new version of The Princess in the Garden that is tailored to what would be acceptable and inoffensive in 2018. Last November, the documentary The Problem with Apu explored the problematic nature of the character. The writer of the documentary, Harry Kondobolua, responded to the episode with a tweet saying that The Simpsons' attempt to address the problem was sad. On a more lighthearted note, Marvel's Black Panther has passed the once unsinkable Titanic. The Titanic has held the second highest spot on the list for highest grossing movie for decades, only being beat out by Avatar until now. Black Panther is just shy $100 million for the top spot. While Rose is still trying to figure out how to save Jack, Regina George is busy starting a family. Mean Girls star Rachel McAdams has given birth to a baby boy with longtime boyfriend Jamie Linden. McAdams has been keeping a low profile lately and has also missed the premiere of her most recent film, Game Night, in February. Fleetwood Mac has fired Lindsey Buckingham after a disagreement over the band's upcoming tour, Rolling Stone confirmed. The band announced Monday that Mike Campbell of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Neil Finn of Crowded House will replace him. News of Buckingham broke when former Fleetwood Mac guitarist Billy Burnett shared a tweet on April 4th saying, "Breaking news, Lindsey Buckingham is out, but I'm not in." The tweet has since been deleted. And now off to Rob and Daniel for a look at the NHL preview and predictions.
Thank you, Alessandra. Here is your NHL Stanley Cup playoff bracket preview. So for the first matchup, we're going to have the Predators taking on the Avalanche. Predators lead the league with 117 points. Nashville are 4-0 against the Avalanche this season, despite the recent uprising from Nathan MacKinnon and the Avalanche. The Hart Trophy candidate probably will not have enough in his tank to carry the team through a team that has a lot of depth. You know, Nashville have a prolific goal scorers. They have dynamic wingers such as Philip Forsberg and Victor Arvidsson. So I would take the Predators going through on this series.
Next up here, we got Tampa Bay Lightning and the New Jersey Devils. The Devils are carried by Taylor Hall, and I just think that the Lightning are going to neutralize Hall, and the Devils will not have much left. When it comes down to depth, I just think the Lightning have more. They got Stamkos, Kucherov, Braden Point. I got the Lightning going through here.
Yeah, but I agree with you there with the Lightning, and talking about more depth in the situation, I'll take the Jets over the Wild. You know, the Jets have a lot of depth in center. They got Mark Scheifele on the first line, Paul Stastny. They're built from the back up to the front with Connor Hellebuck with 6 shutout this year. Dustin Buffalo leading the line on defense. They also have another prolific goal scorer, very similar to Alexander Ovechkin, actually. Patrick Laine's got 44 goals on the year. So I think the Jets are going to overcome the Wild. I don't think Dubnyk will have it in them. And the Wild don't have Ryan Suter right now.
You know, that's funny. You're going to take a Canadian team over across on my side of the board with the Leafs and the Bruins. I'm going to go with a Canadian team. I got the Leafs going through here. As you know, the Bruins have battled a lot of perseverance this year through injuries, suspensions. But this is a Leafs team that is another year of playoff experience, and I think they got enough to push through.
And speaking about playoff experience, yeah, I would definitely agree that the Leafs are going through against the Bruins. Now, for this particular matchup within the Golden Knights and the Kings, I'll take the playoff experience with the Los Angeles Kings. With the return of Jeff Carter, another prolific goal scorer in the NHL, with him back, that provides more depth, not only in center position, along with Anze Kopitar, but it gives them more goal-scoring threats. They will not have Jake Muzzin for the first game. He's not expected to be back, but he is practicing with a non-contact penny. He should be back for the playoffs. That adds more depth with Drew Doughty. And the Kings have a season-low 202 league goals that are allowed, and they have the NHL's best penalty kill. I'll take the Kings over the Golden Knights.
Over back across on my side, we got the Washington Capitals and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Washington has been regarded as a team that has been good enough, but just not good enough to push through. But this year, I think they have no problem with the Blue Jackets. And if you look, Ovechkin and Backstrom have owned the Jackets over their career. I got the Capitals going through.
That's a good choice. And one of the things about offense, when referring to even to Washington, offense usually comes most optimally when you have home ice advantage. And for this particular case, I'll take the Ducks over the Sharks. The Ducks since January 23rd are 14-1-2 at home. The Sharks have lost their footing since Joe Thornton went down. So when the Sharks have a defenseman in Brent Burns, as great as he is, he leads the team in points. There's not much depth going down the lineup. They did add Evander Kane, which is good, but I think the Ducks come out of this one with home ice advantage.
Over across here, we got the Battle of Pennsylvania. We got the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers, a rematch of the epic 2012 series. In that one, you know, we saw a lot of goals being scored, and I think we're in for another offensive firepower this year. This matchup features 4 of the NHL's top 10 goal scorers, and I just think the Pittsburgh Penguins with Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, and Phil Kessel, they got enough to push through the Flyers.
That'll be an excellent series, and as we remember, that last one was so high scoring that you couldn't take your eyes off the television. Now moving on into the second round, this one's going to be very brief. These two teams are built basically in the same way. So the Predators have Rene with 8 shutouts, Hellebuck's got 6. Bufflin leads the line on defense, Subban leads the line on defense for the Predators. Center depth with Johansson against Scheifele, Laine against Forsberg. Going to be an absolute great series. Probably going to go down to the wire in 7 games, but I actually can take the Canadian team out of this one. I think that they have developed a rivalry with the Nashville Predators. They'll come out of this series.
Over here on this side, another Canadian team, we got the Leafs and the Lightning. Now, the Leafs have enjoyed quite the Cinderella story, but I think they might crash out this year. I think the Lightning are just too much for the Leafs to handle. And, you know, the Leafs, they won up their playoff experience from last year, but I think that's it for them this year. I got the Lightning going through.
And now down at the bottom here for the Kings against the Ducks, playoff experience will speak volumes for himself again. Although the Ducks have some playoff experience with Stanley Cup winners such as Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry, I do believe that the Los Angeles Kings are going to go far. And look, the last time the Kings made the playoffs, when they barely made it into the playoffs, they've actually gone on all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. I'll take the Kings going on here into the conference final.
The Washington Capitals against the Pittsburgh Penguins, also known as Ovechkin versus Crosby. It's been a matchup that's been lived in the NHL throughout the years. The Capitals are trying to stop the Penguins' quest for a three-peat, and I think this year they can do it. I got the Capitals going through.
Now for the Western Conference Final, what we got going on here, Jets against the Kings, another great matchup, another good matchup in terms of scoring depth, in terms of who is going to move on in goalies, within defense. And I think that the Kings in this situation, if down the line, if Jake Muzzin is not healthy, they would be struggling, but I believe he will be back. I'm actually going to take the Canadian team here. I think that the Jets are going to go all the way to the Stanley Cup Final. I think they're built for a championship. They know it, and they're going to beat the Kings, I believe.
Another offensive showdown here in their conference finals. We got the Tampa Bay Lightning led by Steven Stamkos and the Washington Capitals led by Ovechkin. Now, this one could be another offensive explosion, but ultimately in the end, I got the Lightning going through. They're just too good in the East.
And to come down to it to the wire for Lord Stanley himself, The Winnipeg Jets, I believe, are going to come out on top, winning the Stanley Cup. No Canadian team has done so since the 1993 Montreal Canadiens. Other notable mentions are the Ottawa Senators coming close against the Ducks, and of course Calgary coming close against Tampa Bay Lightning in that series early 2000s. The Jets come out on top to get to Lord Stanley. That's all for your NHL playoff preview. Now over to Kaylin for what's making news today.
Thanks, Daniel and Rob. The FBI raided the offices and home of President Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, yesterday. Cohen is being investigated for bank fraud and possible campaign finance violations. Cohen said he paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 days before the election in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement about her alleged affair with Trump in 2006. Trump said he was unaware of the payment, which could be seen as a violation of campaign finance laws. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak deleted his Facebook account due to the concerns of how the platform handles its private information of users. Wozniak says he would rather pay for Facebook than have his personal information exploited for advertising. Wozniak said, "Apple makes its money off of good products, not off of you." That's a wrap of everything up for Skedline today. We'd like to thank everyone who helped make this broadcast possible, and a special thanks to Matt Stevens for his technical support. I am Kaylin Lopes. Thanks for watching.